Allies. Britain, the US, France and the USSR were allies during WWII. Manchuria, a region of China that Japan invaded during the 1930s, leading to tensions with America and supplies of steel and oil to Japan stopping. War Production Board. The War Production Board coveted industries to war production. In 1943 the U.S. produced 86,000 planes, rising to 96,000 in 1944. Germany and Japan only produced 68,000 between them in 1944. Lease Act. Countries in their alliance could now borrow military supplies from the U.S. Britain $7,000 million. Russia had support from 1941, not repaid. Cash and carry. Countries can pay for military supplies but must transport them on their own. The USA gave 50 warships when Britain had no money left. Theaters of war. When a war is fought in many locations, the U.S.-Japanese part of the war was fought in the Pacific. Isolationism, a national policy of avoiding involvement in world affairs. Mothers' Crusade, a group of ultra-conservative women who supported isolationism and were anti-war because of this. They had 6 members in 1941. America First Committee, a group that organized demonstrations against America's involvement in WWII. They were isolationists. Fascism, a political system headed by a dictator that calls for extreme nationalism, oppression against those who oppose and, eventually, militarism. Neutrality Acts. 4 laws passed in the late 1930s that were designed to keep the U.S. out of international affairs. 1935 banned loans. 1937 stopped arms dealing to war-torn countries. Pearl Harbor, United States military base on Hawaii that was bombed by Japan, bringing the United States into World War II. Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941. Military spending. When a lot is invested in the military, before 1939 the U.S. spent 1% of GDP on the military. From 1945 onwards this has been 8% plus per year, rising as high as 20% in some years. Rosie the Riveter, nickname for American women working in factories. 7 and more women found work during WWII in the U.S. 1/3 of America's jobs. War Refugee Board, the federal agency created in 1944 to try to help people threatened with murder by the Nazis. Fair Employment Practice Commission. The FEPC was set up in response to a planned civil rights march about poor working conditions for African Americans. The march was cancelled in return for this being set up to investigate conditions. Employment discrimination. When a group of people are unfairly treated at work, in this case, Black Americans were underrepresented or given low-skill jobs. A single aircraft company had only 10,000–30,000 black workers. Tuskegee Airmen, famous segregated unit of Black American pilots, not allowed mixed regiments. Luitenant Lee Rayford, a Black American pilot who was awarded the Destinized Flying Cross Medal after fighting in Europe. War Recruitment. WWII meant that unemployed people could be put back to work. The figures dropped from 9.5 million in 1939 to 670,000 by 1944.